basis, and being able to just bring a comic character to life and be able to. I feel like I'm able to bring my anxiety and give it a visualization. It's as well as depression. To bring that to life. It gives it a different take and allows me to express myself in such a unique way. And it's also really cool to see the creators' reactions. Do you have one?
Do you want me to go or yeah. I really haven't spoken much, but sure. Well, my first cosplay ever was actually Super Saiyan Goku from Dragon Ball Z. That was my first cosplay, and the first time I cosplayed, I was 10 years old. I have an action figure that my mother and I, when I was 10, figured out how to make the costume from the figure. My mom is an amazing seamstress. She taught me how to sew. She taught me how to draw. She taught me how to do. Actually, she's the photographer in the family. I got it from her. So even though she's not a professional, but anyway, if you see her. So we made the costume when I was 10. When I was 10, I was like a heavy sick kid, in the disabled program in school, and and bullying and all that stuff. And I made the costume for the Halloween party, whatever, at my after-school program, where I learned martial arts because the martial art instructor for my after-school program was a super nerd, and because of him, I got into, Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff. So that's a whole connection. But the costume was made oversized because I was like a heavy kid. And now as an adult, it still fits me. Like, it's a little short. The shirt is a little short, but it's still basically the same. Like, it fits me, fitted, So it's like funny, because the first time I came to Comic-Con I think it was 2013 or 14, I did that cosplay, and everybody loved it. It was it looked so good, and I had had it for so many years. So I would say that's my original cosplay, but the one that I'm in now is what I feel like as an adult, mostly identified with, just being a free spirit type character. So.
Ooh, favorite cosplay for me would be what I'm wearing right now, me being Fat Gum, the BMI hero from My Hero Academia. I love it because this character, he's only been here for one season, and he'll make an appearance in the upcoming movie, but he is a guy who is not, who you could be a plus-size person, he can fit both the categories of a skinny hero and a fat hero, depending on the situation. And he is so awesome and cool. If there's one thing I hate, it's probably the ranking system he's at. But overall, he's a badass character, and I am so proud to be wearing this right there and just be a good representation hero of the plus size everywhere. And especially in the cosplay community, I want to bring positivity no matter what size it is, okay? It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You have one? Yes? Okay.
So in my political life, I had friends that worked, when we all were in the White House, that threw a costume party. And the party was themed. And the theme was Muppets versus Tarantino. And it easily goes down as one of my favorite parties of the Obama years. And just such I don't know how they came up with that mix. I suspect some colleagues were drinking significantly and were like, what's the weirdest combination that we could have a themed Halloween party for? And some dice were rolled in some seedy room somewhere, and it was like, Muppets, Tarantino, let's do it. And so Patrick and I went as Fraggles. It was, and easily the room was split 50-50, Muppets versus Tarantino characters, and it was all the different Tarantino characters. It was characters that were dead, corpses. There was two guys that were dressed up as the ghosts of Jules and Vincent standing against the wall doing the little Tarantino dance that's now a GIF. And then there was somebody dressed up as Guy Smiley, the reporter on Sesame Street, and going around the room interviewing people. And it was the most fascinatingly eclectic group of people, because it was also all people that worked in the Obama administration. And we had a standard rule that was like no photographs at any parties. But when I look back on that, like, it was really interesting because it told you so much about the people. Like, who are Muppets people? Who are Tarantino people? What Muppet people are you? Are you Muppet Show people? Are you Fraggle Rock people? Are you Sesame Street people? You know, are you Labyrinth people? Are you Dark Crystal people? Because there was a Skeksis. You know, what genre of Tarantino are you? What community are you ripping off by cosplaying which Tarantino film? You know, and it's just such a fascinating indicator of the kind of folks that you are and like the kind of folks you hang out with. And whenever I think about like my favorite cosplay moments, it's easily that one, because it's like you walked in the room and you're like, I wonder what everyone else is dressing up as. And like the door is open, you're just like, oh my, like sensory overload, but also it was just completely fascinating.
Nobody can Barbie?
No, there weren't any hybrid. That would have been interesting.
I feel yeah. I was gonna
A
say.
Kermit.
I feel like a red, maybe like Red and Kermit or Red and Fozzie as Jules and Vincent is a missed opportunity. Like that would have been solid. You had a. Was there a question? Yeah, you had a question back there.
Alright, so I'd like to know how far are you willing to go? How far will you go for your cosplay? Like, will you go search for that wig, for the contact lens that bother you all day, or edit those photos to make them more spectacular? How far will you go?
I've seen your Instagram. How far are you willing to go?
Yeah.
So the question is, how far are we willing? So the question is, how far are we willing to go for our cosplays?
But that's true.
I'm a detail
He said that he thinks that we're the best.
I mean, I'm into I do all the details, you know. I'm a what's the word I'm looking for? Particular? No, like I'm particular about the details, you know. Like whenever I do anything. I mean, right now I'm kind of being lazy, but that's okay. But like, I usually have more stuff on. But like anyway, I have all the details. As you can see, I like details. You know, if you can't see in the back, I have like some props up here on the screen. So like, you know, I like to show off that like all the little things, you know, you forget about on a character. That's why this character is so cool, because he has so many little things that you can do, and people know, oh, you have the little bead from the thing, and the, you know. So people who are into the details, you know, connect about details, you know.
As for me, by the way, that was a very good question. Thank you for asking. It all depends on, sometimes it's a budget thing, but for me, I don't have to get everything exactly, but if I get anything similar close to it, like right now, this isn't the actual gloves that he wears, these are Nike gloves, but the point is they're orange, it gives a certain shade. This I got from Amazon. This outfit that I'm wearing that's Fatgum related is actually a gym/cosplay suit from Just Saying. That's the name of the organization, Just Saying. You can cosplay, but you can also work out in this at the same time. Best of both worlds, right? I swear, I get complimented all the time in the gym when I dress up as someone from My Hero Academia or Vegeta or the Almighty Vegeta, which is a crossover of Almighty Vegeta. Crazy. But the point is, you gotta make use with you gotta think about the budget. You don't have to have everything perfect as long as you try and have fun out of it. So.
Okay, what about photoshopping your photos?
Well, I'm going to answer the previous question first. So I have revised costumes time and time again, and there'll always be. It's a costume in an artist's eyes. A piece of art tends to never be perfect. There's always going to be flaws, but you can pick which flaws you want, that you're willing to accept. And that goes with life as well. And it's just general life advice. Now, you were going to say,
You want to know about Photoshop? I can answer that question.
so photoshopping photos. I'll say right off the bat, I tend to not use Photoshop in my photos. However, I am a photographer and a light painter, so I do a lot of light painting, which is an experimental form of photography. And there's not many of us out there, so that's a little bit different and unique. But Dylan can answer.
He's the best person for photo editing.
Well, I mean, I've spent a lot of time honing my skills in Photoshop because I like the editing process. You know, it focuses me, and there's a lot of things you can tell I'm very all over the place. So, but I can sit for like 20 hours and edit. I can edit I can edit like 1,000 photos like in a day, where most photographers take a month. Like if I shoot Comic-Con, I'll have this up by Wednesday. Like, he knows, I work with this guy, he's good. And so thank you for coming, by the way. And so like, I don't mess around with that stuff. I love it. It's my bread and butter. But to answer your question, whether I want the detail real in the photo or put it in post, it depends on the situation. So if there's a cosplayer that doesn't have the piece and it's like, oh man, I really need this thing in there, I'll put it in post. But a lot of times I'll use my environment instead of photoshopping the background and just put the effects on top to front, and it sort of matches up perfectly in my experience. So.
And I kind of want to jump back because we were talking about cosplay that we've done. I think my favorite one was a couple of cons ago. I did like 10th Doctor, and it was sort of more like 10th Doctor reference. But I had like all the trappings, like trench. I had my sonic screwdriver. I appreciate it for the Doctor. Cheer for the Doctor. But what I thought was cool was the feelings that go along with it, because cosplay does affect you internally, I think, as well as externally. If you really are into the Doctor and you walk around dressed as the Doctor, everything becomes a ridiculously interesting, quirky experience. You find yourself sort of like interacting through the universe like that. Our dear colleague that's dressed as Harley Quinn has not put her shoes on the floor once. And that's awesome, because Harley doesn't sit like that. She would stretch out. Exactly, it does change you internally. And I think there's something awesome about picking characters that make you feel good, as well as sometimes picking characters that might make you feel powerful, or might make you, if you want to hide, make you be able to hide. Like, those feelings are awesome. I've been toying around actually with this Bishop cosplay that I haven't been able to pull together yet. All of our stuff is in storage because we're moving. But the thing that I wanted to do with it is I love this idea of heroes hiding in plain sight. So a lot of it that I'm trying to pull together for it is things that you could actually cobble together from other space. It wouldn't be his actual leather suit and his long flowy cape. But how would that translate? Maybe a red hoodie, maybe combat boots, maybe an Xavier t-shirt because he goes there to go to school. But whatever it is, even the details, like we said, of the suits, the feelings that you get will be just as real, even if the outside isn't quite where you want it to be yet.
I remember. I was going to just say one thing. I remember watching this guy at AwesomeCon in DC a few years ago, who was dressed up as Rufio.
Oh yeah, Rufio.
And literally could not walk down a hall without every time everyone was like Rufio.
I did it, and I didn't even know I was going to do it.
At one point, he was just he looked like he was bummed. Like, he was sitting there looking at his phone, and he was kind of just like whatever. And you heard all these little kids going Rufio, all stands up straight, shakes it off, and was a huge ass, badass smile. Yeah. And I was like, that totally makes your day, doesn't it? He's like, you have no idea.
That was also the first year that the Black Panther cosplay had started to come out. And being a young black kid who loved comics, and my dad's passed, but my dad would have loved Black Panther. And there was one dude dressed as Black Panther at AwesomeCon that year, and almost every young black kid, and every old black kid actually, came up and talked to him. And because of that, he had to be T'Challa that day. He had to be the king. And it's that's the awesome thing about cosplay, those feelings and those things you can put on yourself.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Patrick. Real quick, we're going to take one more question, but before we do that, this is a little trick that Patrick has taught me, is to take a picture of the audience at every panel that we speak at. So
I can't. My kids are the children of our phone. You guys take pictures.
Oh, yeah, so your question in the orange.
So, have you guys noticed that there's, in cons in general, if you've been to many, or even if this is your first one, do you find that you're seeing a lot more, disability or alternate ability, representation, and do you see it going even farther in the future?
Short answer is yes. Long answer is yes, Repop has us here at this panel, and this is the 5th year in a row where we're doing it, and over the past 5 years that we've been doing it, we've seen them add a LGBTQ room, we've seen them add a quiet room, we've seen them add all these different resources. So yeah, absolutely. If you look at things like Lock and Key, the comic has a character with a disability, and in the show, that character is represented by an actor who has a disability. We're seeing that we're seeing more and more accessibility and acceptance and inclusion in real life and in comics and in society, and that's a huge deal. So yeah.
Do you want to jump on that?
I was gonna say more is always better.
Yeah.
I definitely,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and I think there is, our people show up in these spaces. Like, one of my biggest gripes is when I come to cons and I see organizations that are run by non-disabled people, that in some cases actually cause harm to disabled people, have a booth. And I pick up the phone and I call my friends that are disabled folks that run organizations. I'm like, why the hell aren't you at the cons? Do you not realize that is where our people are? And instead, like, they're meeting groups that do electroshock on kids. Instead, like, that's the representation in these spaces versus organizations that are run by us and for us. You know, and that's actually where I really want to, like, I see our people coming to these spaces, but I want to see our organizations show up and sponsor rooms and sponsor gatherings and get-togethers. I mean, I work for the Ford Foundation, and I can already imagine having a conversation with New York Comic Con next year and saying, what can Ford, can we do a reception? What is it that we can do to help actually bring together community in an informal way? And so I'm seeing definitely